Hi everyone, today I am going to show you how to make, how to sublimate Dollar Tree glass cutting boards. We're going to show you how to sublimate on the square one and on the round one. So let's get started. Okay, so the materials that we will be needing, obviously, will be the glass cutting boards, which you purchase from Dollar Tree. They're $1.25 each. You can get them clear, or you can get them frosted. So I purchased one of each. The frosted feels a little heavier than the clear. It actually is a lot heavier. And then I also got a frosted round and a clear round, so we can see what the difference looks like. You will also need Oracal 651 vinyl adhesive. That's this right here. It doesn't matter if you get gloss or if you get matte, it's going to come out the same. You will need to print out some sublimation designs. When you print them out, make sure you do not mirror them. You do not mirror these designs. Now, how did I get the measurements? Okay, so we're going to take let's start with the glass square cutting board. It measures 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. So when you print your design, you want it to be a little bit bigger, so you can have a little sticking out around the edge. So I measured these 8 by 8. So you're gonna cut off just a little. You're not gonna cut off. You'll see when we get to it. There's no cutting on the designs. Just print them 8 by 8 for this board. And then for your round designs, you're gonna print they measure almost 8 inches around. So you can print these. I think I printed these 8 1/4. Yeah, 8 1/4 on these, what I printed them. Yep. So your round designs, you will make an 8 1/4 round, and your square designs, make them 8 inches square. Okay? And do not mirror them. Now, if you have a Cricut machine, you can cut these out perfectly square on your Cricut. Just cut them out. Don't cut them you can cut them a little bit smaller than 7 3/4, so they're not hanging over the edge. I cut these a little smaller than 7 3/4. That way when I stick them on here, there's just a very slight border around the edge. And the way, I don't have a Cricut, so the way I cut these is I use this Carl rotary cutter right here, and I just made sure they were square all the way around. So these are cut a little less than 7 3/4. These I cut at 8 inches.
That's for the round.
That's for the round. Okay, so 8 inches square for the round. A little less than 7 3/4. When I say a little less, it can be like 1/8 of an inch less than 7 3/4. And so that covers that. You're also going to need some rubbing alcohol, and I like to use this Rapid Tack. I'll show you where that comes into play. And I use this little plastic scraper. So the first thing you're going to do when you get your cutting boards is you want to put it on a soft surface. I just use this towel right here. And we're going to flip it over and remove the little rubber feet that are on the bottom. I just use this little screwdriver, and I kind of pry underneath and just pick it up. Just like
Put
that.
it on that taping stand.
And if once you can stick these down on your backing of your old vinyl, I'll show you here in a second. I'm going to take this one off and just take them off. It doesn't matter if some of the adhesive stays on the glass because we're going to remove that here in a second. Just take the rubber feet off. Try not to lose them because we're going to put them back on again. Alright, I'm just now removing the feet from the last cutting board. And you don't have to, these just come off pretty easily. I usually stick those on a piece of backing paper that comes off the 651 vinyl, but I don't have any yet. So the reason I had this is to help scrape off. You can use your thumbnail, or I just use this little plastic scraper. It helps get some of the adhesive off. You just gotta let that alcohol soak in a little bit. You can kind of see it peeling that off right there. A little bit more. Take your paper towel. You want to use fresh paper towel every now and then because the adhesive will stick to the paper towel and then you're just smearing it back on again. This is actually the only part I don't like about making these. And you can kind of feel with your finger if there's any adhesive left on there. You don't want any left on there at all. Okay, so I've got the rubber feet removed from these. And the next thing we're going to do is clean. It's on the other side. Probably from old. Is clean that side you just removed the feet from. Now what I use is this Rapid Tack, and I'll put a link to that in the description, as well as all the other items that I'm using. So we just want to lightly spray this, let it set for a minute, and then get a nice fresh piece of paper towel and dry it off. This helps clean the glass. You don't want any residue or anything on this glass because it will leave little bubbles in your vinyl adhesive. Okay, and I'm going to clean all the other four. We'll just set this aside. Clean the other three same way. Some Rapid Tack. Squeaky clean. Hear that? That's what they say when they say squeaky clean. Okay. These square ones. Now you can feel on these the textured side is not the side you need to be cleaning. It's the smooth glass side. So don't stick your adhesive on the textured side. Same way with the round. You should be cleaning off the nice smooth glass side. Okay, one more. This one here, it doesn't matter which side. But I'm just going to use the side that I removed the feet from. Okay, we have all the backs clean. Move some stuff out of my way here. So we'll start with the square. Okay.
Maybe get your oven starting, your press to start to preheat?
Not yet.
No? Okay.
Okay, we'll go ahead and I'll check and make sure I don't have anything on here. Looks clean. I don't feel any Okay, so now what you want to do is get your piece of pre-cut 651 vinyl. Make sure that it's going to fit. And like I said, you want it just slightly smaller. You should have a little, you should be able to see a little piece of glass edge all the way around. Once you're happy with that and it's going to fit nicely, we're going to take some of this rapid tack and just spray it on there like that. You don't have to go crazy, just put a nice even coat on there. And then peel off the backing. Maybe. Peel off the backing. Here we go. There's 651. And then we're going to, if you got enough rapid tack on the back, you can slide it around a little bit so you can get it to where you want it. Okay. And I like it centered right there. Now we're going to use a squeegee to get bubbles out. And you want to gently start, because if you press too much, it's going to move it. So I just gently squeegee one side. Make sure it's still where I want it to be. And then the other side. Now you can squeegee a little harder, just to get all those air bubbles out. Just like this. A little smudge there, but I think it's not on the back side. And I think I've got pretty much, I see a tiny little bubble right here, but it's just because there's something on underneath of there. And if you have a little tiny bubble, don't worry so much, it's not going to show through the design. You just don't want a big bubble. If you do get a big bubble and you can't squeeze it out, poke a little tiny hole in it with a needle or something to let the air out of it, and then squeegee over it again. And that little tiny hole that you poke, that's not going to show very much on the design either. So once we had that, we'll just set this aside and let it dry for a second. And I will show you once more on this frosted piece. Make sure there's nothing on here. I feel something right there. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and clean this off again real quick. Like I said, make sure you use a fresh paper towel, because if you don't, you're going to be smearing that adhesive back over what you're just cleaning. Okay. So check and make sure this is going to fit. Like I said, I cut this just 1/8 of an inch smaller than 7 3/4. I got a little border, so yeah, that's going to fit nicely. So I go ahead and spray on my rapid tack. Okay. And try to find the corner. That's why. There we go. Try not to get your fingers all on the adhesive. Set it down, slide it over where you need it. Gently lay it down. Try not to get air bubbles underneath. And then when you're happy, it's square where you want it to be, take your squeegee and just lightly, don't even put that much pressure on it, just lightly squeegee the top half out. Just like that. Then lightly squeegee the bottom out. And after you've done that, you can hold down on it and squeegee a little heavier. Both directions. Like so. Check and see if you got any bubbles. That one there came out actually pretty nice. I don't see any bubbles. I see just a tiny bit of speck on one side, but it's not going to hurt anything. And we'll set this one aside to dry. Okay, now the round ones, because I do not have a Cricut, are a little bit trickier. If you have a Cricut, you can just measure that like I showed you before. It's it's just a little less than 8 inches, but you could take and cut a circle with your Cricut. I would cut it 7 3/4, and that will fit on there perfect with your Cricut. But I don't have a Cricut, so I have to do it manually. So I cut my design 8 by 8, or my vinyl, I should say. It's 8 by 8 square. So we're going to make sure this is clean. And clean it with the, just to make sure she's nice and clean. Okay, that looks clean. Now, so this one here is going to be a little different because I'm putting square onto round. So this is going to be a little bit harder to judge. But you're going to pretty much do the same thing. Just give it a coating. Just this. I'll peel this off. I tried to cut one round, but it didn't work out too well. Take this, lay it down on your glass, and you want to cover every edge so there's no glass showing. Try to put it on there as square as you can. As long as there's no glass showing, you're good. Okay, and the same thing, just start in the center and gently squeegee it out to the sides, to the bottom. Then once you think it's not going to move on you, you can be a little harder on the squeegee. Until we get all the bubbles out. I see a little tiny bubble right there. Oh yeah, your adhesive's going to try and stick to the towel. But once you get that, turn it upside down, and you should have even coverage. You should see the edges of your paper pretty much. I got a little rubber booger on here from the feet, but that's not going to hurt anything. Just lay that down and let that dry. You probably need a cleaner towel, but that's okay. And then we're going to do the same thing for this one. You can see a big old smudge on that one right there, but that's on the back, on the top, so I'm not worried about it right now. We're cleaning the bottom. Make sure it's nice and clean. That smudge is kind of bugging me.
I knew it would.
Yeah, I know. I'll get that off of there. It's going to come off sooner or later anyway, so I might as well just get it now. That's a little better. Okay, so I've got the side that we're putting the adhesive on nice and clean. We're going to coat this with the Rapid Tack. Nice and even coating. And then I'm going to get my other 8-inch square, 651 vinyl. Try and find the corner. Yeah, come on, there you go. Peel that off of there. Try not to stretch it or anything too much, because it will stretch. Just kind of be gentle with it. And then we're gonna lay this over our glass cutting board. Make sure you cover all your edges of your glass. Like that. That was a pretty good first shot. Then just gently squeeze out the top, squeeze out the bottom. Oh, I think it moved on me. I see some glass right there. Uh-oh. And you can always, the good thing about this stuff, you can always pick it up and reposition. But if it starts to get too sticky on you, you can spray more stuff underneath of it. That's better. Okay. I'm going to hold down on it this time. Probably why I don't like doing the round one so much is because I can't cut the vinyl to the size I need like the square ones. But I don't want to buy a Cricut just to do this either. Okay, so hopefully that's got all the air bubbles out. I don't see any, which is good. So we're going to just let that dry. Just turn it upside down, set the glass on top so it can dry. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is show you how to put the design on these. So these should already be dry pretty much. And you don't need this towel anymore. So we can start by warming up our heat press. And I'm going to turn it on. Actually, before I turn it on, these are going to be a little thicker than what you're normally pressing, maybe paper or keychain. So you want to make sure you got your pressure set first. Oh yeah, that's a little too heavy. Loosen it up a little bit. I mean, you should be able to push down without pushing down hard, or it's going to crack. Just like that. Yeah, I think that's about where we want it to be at. Just enough to where it'll lock in, but not too much to where it's going to be like you have to push down with both hands. You should be able to just push it down with one hand. There we go, that's perfect. Okay, so once you got your pressure set, you're going to turn on your heat press. And the settings we use is, we're looking it up.
385.
385.
190 seconds.
385. I'm going to turn this one to 385. Maybe. Oops, went too far. Well, 385, and then the time's going to be 190 seconds. Here she goes. Come on. 180. I'll do it manually now. Okay, 385 for 190 seconds. And we'll let this warm up. And then we'll come back and I'll show you how to put the sublimation design on there. Okay, so our heat press has heated up to the temperature that we want. I'm going to show you, I've already cut one out right here. I'm going to show you how I did it. I've got a glass table, so I can use that to cut. If you have a cutting mat, you can use a cutting mat, but you need some kind of cut-proof surface. And I just take this X-Acto knife and I just cut around the edge like this. Try to keep pressure down on the glass. And cut around your vinyl, keeping it close to the edge as possible. That's why I made it a little bit bigger, so I could have some excess to cut off. I don't like doing it this way, but it's the only choice I have.
Since we don't have a Cricut.
We don't have a Cricut, and we don't want to purchase one just for this, because we don't really sell these. Alright, and that's how you can cut that out. Ta-da! Now, I'm going to show you how to put the paper on there. As you can see, we have different designs, and I created these designs. I didn't purchase them off of Etsy. I think there are some on Etsy that you can purchase. I'm going to put my designs on Etsy and put a link in the description, so if you want some that's already set up, you can purchase my designs, and I'd really appreciate that. Also, while you're at it, if you're liking what you've seen so far, hit that like and subscribe button. I have other videos showing you how to sublimate different items, and it would be great if you could like and subscribe and watch some of my other videos. So anyway, so let's start off with the square one. Now with something like this, if you try to put that on frosted glass, you're probably going to have a hard time reading these measurements. So I am going to select the clear glass square for this. And what we do is just turn this over.
The vinyl side down.
Vinyl side down. And just set it on top of the design. And now you see why I made the design a little bit bigger, because you can't see through the paper. So if you make it the exact same size, you're not going to be able to see it. So square it up the best you can. That looks pretty square to me. And we're going to just tape it down. Just tape down the sides. And the edges. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this way. Just like that. Once you have it taped down, we're going to come over to our press.
Put your parchment paper down first.
Make sure you got parchment paper on the bottom. And we're going to just warm up the base for a second. Maybe about 10-15 seconds. This particular press here, once you press it down, the timer starts automatically. So we're just going to warm that up for a second. Okay, we're going to take, and the glass goes on top, your cutting board goes on top, your sublimation paper goes on bottom. Remember that. Okay, and then we're going to take another sheet of parchment paper, place it over the top, and lower it down for 190 seconds. And we'll continue when we get closer. Alright. Okay, we've got 9 seconds left. Make sure you got your heat gloves on, because that glass gets very hot. And time is up. Gently move this. And if you have a cookie sheet or something. We
use a cooling rack like I used to bake my cookies with. That's what we set it on to cool.
Gently place it on your sheet like this to cool. As you can see, that's pretty much what it's going to look like. It'll look a little better once we take the paper off. Okay, I'm going to show you how we do the round. I've already done the other square and round one. I'm going to show you how we do the round ones. So I used the clear. If you have lettering or something you need to read through the glass, you probably want to use clear. If it's just a picture
you can use
or design, you know, use the frosted. I mean, that looks fine. That's up to you, but that's how we do it. So this one here's the frosted round. You take your sublimation side, your vinyl side, I mean, and put it on your sublimation and center it. And I already knew that some of this was going to be cut off, which is fine. So remember that when you're making your design, remember you're going to have some that's not going to show on there. But you need it to be a little bit bigger. just so you know where to place your cutting board. And so you don't have like a line around the edge. You don't want it to be too small and then have like a white line around the edge. So we'll go ahead and tape this off. You don't have to be too crazy with the tape. You just don't want the paper to move on you. And then we'll take this, just like it is, and set it down in the heat press. Put your parchment paper back over on the top. Let that go for 190 seconds. Okay, we got a few seconds left, and then this one will be ready to remove from the heat press. Okay. I'm going to take this off of here. Here's kind of what it's going to look like. Put that on here. Let that cool. Remember, you have to let these completely cool before you try to take the paper.
See it smoking.
Yeah, it's hot. They get hot. And remember earlier I said I used the backing off the 651 vinyl to put my feet, store my feet until we're ready to use them.
Okay, they kind of stick.
That way they kind of stay on there and you don't lose them. So that's how we keep the feet until we're ready to put them back on the glass. So I'm going to go ahead and press these other two. And then after that we'll show you how we remove the paper from the back of the cutting boards. Okay, so make sure that they're completely cooled because you do not want to try to remove the paper if they're still warm because it could peel off the adhesive.
Okay, take the tape off. I just stick it on the side. And right underneath, just a little bit of water, just enough to get it wet. There you go.
Hot or cold water?
Just warm.
Warm?
Warm.
Just enough to get the back wet?
Yeah, just to get it wet.
You don't have to like soak it down.
Nope. Let it sit here for a minute. That should be good. And you just start peeling it off. Oh, wow, that's coming off good. Look at
Try
that.
not to pull up on it. You pull it like backwards.
And typically, you have to take a scraper and scrape it off.
No,
but
you use a scrubber.
Or a scrubber, sorry. But it all came off. This is the first one we've ever done, and this all came off. Look at that.
No paper stuck to it
There's
at
no
all.
paper stuck.
But normally the paper will stick, so you take a scrub daddy.
You could use this or a scrub daddy or something.
And just scrub the paper off. It doesn't hurt the vinyl or anything. That was a fluke that the paper came off.
Yeah, that's never happened.
Yeah. Probably because we're making this video. And now you can see what it looks like. Let me get a little closer.
Show the back where the
Here's
vinyl
the
and
back. And then on the next section of this video, we'll show you how to put the feet back on. But that's how you remove the paper.
all the tape off.
Okay, we're going to do a second one here.
This one's frosted.
Frosted. And I think what we found out is that the clear ones, the paper peels right off. And the frosted one, it sticks.
We shall see.
So we're going to find out right now.
Oh my gosh, it's not sticking again.
Oh, some paper stuck, didn't it?
No, it's completely smooth.
Wow.
I did one off camera a while ago and it stuck.
So what we found out is if we're recording it, the paper doesn't stick, but if we don't record it, then the paper does stick. So you need to be recording it when you peel the back it off.
Your paper off.
No, but if the paper does stick,
just scrape it
just
off.
scrub it off with a scrub daddy. You're not going to hurt the vinyl. And you can feel it with your hand if there's paper stuck to the back of it.
Yeah.
So, yep, it doesn't matter if it's clear or frosted. Every now and then, paper's going to stick. So next we'll show you how to put the
feet on.
Okay, so this is how you can put the feet back on. When you peel them off, it peels a lot of the adhesive off. So what we do is we use Gorilla Glue and just put one little drop on the foot, on the rubber foot.
A little rubber foot here.
Just put a little drop on there.
Yep.
And then just stick it back down on the cutting board.
Tracy prefers me to do this because his fingers are too big.
Yeah, I have a hard time doing this.
See, they got a little bit of sticky, but I don't feel like there's enough left on it.
I feel like that they'll come off again if you don't glue them down.
And I just leave them sit for a little bit, let them dry all the way.
And when you put them back on, they don't go all the way in the corner. Just make sure you put them in from the edges a little bit, not in the very corners. Like when I say that, don't put them way out here in the corners. Place them in a little bit. So that's how you can put the feet back on. And it's not that hard to do. There's that one. And here's the other one we did.
So where's the placement on the round?
The round is you kind of have to guess on those. I mean, you're going to be like, just like in...
Maybe about right here.
You know, right there's fine.
Here.
Yeah. Maybe out a little bit. Kind of closer to the edges. You know, kind of like that.
Okay.
So, yeah, just use Gorilla Glue. Put your feet back on. And let those dry. And they'll be ready to use. And it's recommended that you don't put these in the dishwasher. Hand wash them. The vinyl is very durable. I mean, it will scratch, obviously, if you try and scratch it with something sharp. But
even in using it, you're not going to scratch the vinyl because you're going to be using the other side
right,
of it.
I'm talking about cleaning or something.
Oh, okay.
So here's how they look. Here's the square one. And here's the round one. And these are dry, and that's the back sides of them. So hopefully this video will help you sublimate Dollar Tree cutting boards.
Any questions?
Yep, if you have any questions, feel free to make a question or place a comment in your questions in the comments. And please like and subscribe, and we'll try and get another video out as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.